All right, I think we'll get going to today's workshop about how to find your direction in 2025. And we still have a bunch of time. So we're only 6 months into this game, or 6.5 months into this game. And I think this is a really good time to kind of figure out where we are and have we come as far as we wanted to come, or if we should make some adjustments. But this workshop today is mainly focusing on direction. It's mainly focusing on, okay, what is it that we want to get out of this last 5.5 months? Can you give me a thumbs up, Jacob, that you can hear me and everything is good? Okay, excellent. Yeah, it's always, you never know. It's always something exploding here. Yeah, so that's what we're going to do today. And that makes sense to you guys. Is that what you came for? Figuring out where the heck to go the last 5 months of the year and setting out a path to get there. That'll be the big one. Okay, excellent. So the way we're going to do this is we're going to take you from wherever you are right now, and then I'm going to show you inside Unbreakable Mind, and I'm going to show you how it's structured inside there, and then we're going to pick some exercises depending on the need that you see, and then we're going to workshop those things, and then we're going to put it together into something that looks like, let's see if I can put that up right now, something that looks like, should do this. Share my screen here, and you'll see what the end goal of today is, to make it really clear what you're gonna expect. So here's what we got. So this is what you'll end up with after this. You'll have this template here you will get, and we will fill out the things that we already have, and then we're going to focus on the things we need to fill out. But basically, it takes you from all the way up here, your vision for life, the absolute biggest goals that you have, and then we're going to work our way down to the quarterly goals, and then what we have for ideas and stuff that came up that we want to implement. But so we go from a big picture all the way to down, and then we build this out. And in reality, it looks not as fancy. It looks more like this. So this is mine. This is for mine for this year. And it's just chaos and things everywhere because it's a document. It's a thing that is alive. There's happening things. We learn stuff, and we move on. So by the end of this, you will have your own document like that to work on. So I will now, do you have that document, Jacob, or should I send it to you as well? Let's see here. Make sure to send it in the comments. So I'm sharing the link, and from there you'll be able to get it. Right, here we go. And this is very, like, if there's any questions or just anything else you think we should do, just feel free here now to comment or write anything. And yeah, because we want to make this into a workshop. We want to play around with it, have some fun. I'm going to set out the main. I'm going to help you through the exercises and make sure you get going. But the work is on your side, and the more questions you ask, the better the outcome this could go. But I want to explain how this is meant to work. So the reason why it's so important to have a direction is because if we don't have a direction or we don't have a goal, we have no ability to make decisions fast, or we might not even have an ability to make a good decision. Because let's say we have our goal over here. This is where we want to go. Then, and we are now over here. We are semi-happy. We're not super sad, but we have things to work on. Like maybe a tiny tear here, but we want to get here. But the thing is, if we don't have the goal, then there's no path. Like we can't get there. Even though our path might be super crooked, we have a path. We have somewhere to go. But if we're lacking this goal, there is nowhere for us to go. Then the question is, why would we even take any direction? Or the reason why we should go in this direction or this direction or this direction or over here are equally as valuable, because we have nowhere we want to go. There's an old sailing quote that goes something like, I'm going to wreck it, but it's something like, if you don't know where you're going, then no winds are favorable, right? Listen to that. So like, if you don't know where you're going, if you don't know what island you're going to sail to, then no wind is favorable. That means all opportunities, all the things are equal. So if you're here, if you're feeling like you're in the middle here now and you don't know where to go, the chances are often that we just stay, because there's no reason to exert effort going somewhere if we don't know where the heck it's going to take us, or if it's even meaningful to do. So that's a big part of why having a direction is so incredibly important, because if we put all our efforts, we put a little bit of effort in here or a little bit of effort in here, and we do the same in every direction, we exert equal amounts of force in every direction, we just stay here. Like, it's just a law of physics, right? But if we say, you know what, I now know where I want to go, and then I take all of that energy and I put it into this direction, a lot of beautiful things happen. One thing is we will get somewhere. We will get to some island somewhere, and we will learn something. Maybe this is not the place we want to go. It's like, nope, this was also crappy, but at least we will learn that. We will understand that, okay, on this journey, we learn a bunch of things, realizing, you know what, this is not the goal we wanted. We actually want to go up here instead. So then we can change course. But if we stay stuck, if we stay over here and we start thinking and wondering, we will not get the lessons we need to make course adjustments. So forward momentum is really crucial. And here's even the bigger part of it. If you don't have a goal, then everything is equally as important. And if everything is equally as important, then nothing is important. And that is a scary thing, because if nothing is important, how would you ever choose? How would you ever choose a direction? How would you ever choose a fruit? How would you ever choose a friend if they're all equal? That wouldn't make any sense. You would just roll the dice in everything you do. So that's why it's so clear, because once we have a goal, we can organize, let's do this, we can organize everything towards it. We have things, actions that we're doing that either lead us towards the goal or away from it. So then it becomes very easy to say, you know what, it's leading us away from the goal, so therefore we shouldn't do it. And the things that are leading us towards, therefore we should do it. Does that make sense? And that is the power of having a clear, visualized, articulate goal that you are committed to, because it will give you that direction. And with that direction, you can make fast decisions and you can make good decisions. And once you do that, everything opens up, right? Because now you're on your path, you're on your adventure to go somewhere fun. Okay, that makes sense? A little thumbs up. Nice. Okay, awesome. We'll continue. So now we understand why it's so freaking important to have a goal. Other question is, what the heck is a goal, and which one is worthy of pursuing? And that's where we're talking about. That's what I'm going to show you inside the community now, and how we approach that. Because chances are you have taken yourself up on a goal before, and then just realized that, oh, this wasn't where I wanted to go, or this sucked, or it wasn't valuable. So I'm going to show you inside the community here how we approach this. And this is the Unbreakable Mind community, for those of you who are not in it or have not seen it before. Here we go. So we have a module, or it's a challenge block, I should say, inside Mental Resiliency Level 2. So once you do the Mental Strength Challenge, you move on to Physical Resilience Level 1, and then you enter Mental Resilience Level 2. In here, you will see Find Your Direction. And this will take you all the way down to having that focus plan that we talked about before. Oh, I guess there's something wrong with that one. There you go. And having that focus plan that I showed you before, all filled out and ready to take action on. And that means that every time you wake up in the morning, you will have your next step to go towards. You will know what the things you're doing today will lead you to your Q2 goals, that will lead you to your higher level goals, maybe for the next 3 years, which is strongly connected to your vision for life. And if you're ever doubting what you're doing, you will just go here and make sure that these are still connected and still are relevant to you. And if they are, you just continue on your path. If they're not, you go here and reevaluate and update. But you will no longer be lost. You will no longer be without direction. And that's the true power of this very simple framework. All right, so if you haven't now, you should go to the link I sent, make your own copy, because that's the one we're going to use. Right? Now we're going to play around a little bit with an exercise that's called Write Your Epitaph. This is a good one to do. I like to do it every 6 months, something like that, just to get an update on where I'm at and see if it changes. So if you've already written your epitaph, then this is your opportunity to work on that. Your epitaph it's a very simple thing. It is an end-of-life story. So let's say you are, hanging out at your own funeral, and people are presenting about you, who you are, or you're reading on your obituary who you were and how you lived your life. This is the part now that you're gonna put out there, that you're gonna write down, and I'll share how that might look. So this is a really powerful exercise. It's very simple. It can be scary sometimes if you're not interested in that, or if you think it's scary, think about that. But it's very powerful. The only thing we think about is that, okay, we are now. It's now at your own funeral. You are listening in to what people are saying, and you're not going to write that thing yourself. So this will be your epitaph. There are 3 things you want to put in there. There are things you were. Maybe I'm misspelling this one, but whatever. Things you were in your life, like the people they're talking about. Who you were. You were kind. You were friendly. You always stood up. Things like that. That's the first one you're going to look at. Then are the things you had. And then there are things you did. And then we're just going to list these things out. Make it simple. It doesn't have to be poetry here. The idea is just to kind of get the things going. So another way of looking at this in present moment is who I want to be, what do I want to have, and what do I want to do. So if we look at it in present time, that's how it will look like. And if we look at it in past time, like our epitaph, it will look like this. So this is the first exercise. We're going to now go in here, and we're going to write a few things. So what would the people on our funeral, what would we want them to speak about us? Who were we? So if you have your little paper, this is a good time to start working on that one. Any questions so far? No? Looks pretty good? Okay, great. All right. And you can make this how complicated you want or how simple you want. So if you want to say like, oh, who was this guy? Who was I? You can just go with simple stuff. Like, just want to be kind, friendly, seen as something. I wanted to be seen as someone who always stood up for my cause, someone who was always there for my friends, someone they could trust. If those are the things, you just want to list them here now. Once we've got a few things like that down, just blast it out. We're going to go into the things that actually usually we do it in this order. We're going to do it into the things you do or did. And here are the experience that people are talking about, or the experience that you want to have. So what are the things that you would love to have done in your life? And this should be as big as possible or as small as possible, but start out with the big stuff. Like, what are the things you always want to do? Maybe you had a dream of, building your own company, or climbing Mount Everest, or or building a family, whatever it may be. This is what you want to go over here. All right, now we zoom into have. And you can play around with this as much as you want. You can define it however you want. Maybe you had a long and healthy life. You had great relationships. You had whatever it may be you want to put in here. So I'm going to definitely put amazing friendships. And if you're unsure which category to put it in, it doesn't really matter. The important thing here is like to look at your life from different perspectives. So if something pops up, they're like, oh, that's super nice, but I don't know where it fits, just put it down there. It doesn't matter that much. All right. If you really want to live into this story, if you really want to make this come true, I recommend you take all this information and you actually create a story from it. There's two ways to do it. One, you could take all this information and shove it into ChatGPT, and you tell it to write an epitaph for you, and it will spit out something. And then you read that as if it was, you were on your own funeral. And then you see how that feels, what the emotions are, and if that's something worth pursuing. Because what we have just done now is that we've created an end goal for our lives in some sense. These things is something for us to strive for. So you remember what we talked about before when we said we need something to strive for. We need some end goal, something bigger, because otherwise we're lost and we're just going to stay the same. That's what we're starting to construct now. And this here is connected to this endpoint here. There is this goal that we want to go to. And we do that by looking at different parts of our character. So we have who do we want to become, what do we want to have, and what do we want to do. So we're now creating this future character of us that has all the things that we dream of. Look, now he's happy. Isn't that a great idea? That's so happy. Still crying though, but this time it's happy tears. It's crying even more because he's so happy. So that's what we're working on towards now. That's what we're building. These two are interconnected. So the more you can dress this little person up with the epithet, the more clearly, the better clothes it has, the more you have something to aim for. Because the clearer this is, the easier it is for you to make decisions. If you just have a vision which says, I want to be healthy, but you don't really know what healthy means, then it's really hard to make any decisions because it's just so fluffy. But if you back down, and we're going to do this in a little bit, you back down and you start saying, well, healthy means, physical workouts, mental workouts, and whatever it may entail to you, then suddenly you can start finding the trail that leads towards this person. You could see it as physical health is the little sweater that this person is wearing, and mental strength would be the shoes. So you keep dressing this person with different things. And the way that it's so important to make this little exercise is because our brain works with narratives. It works with stories and structures. We're really bad with facts and statistics, but if we see a story, or we can see a person, so in this case, we can see our future self, and we can see that person dressed with the things we want it to have, then chances are we will remember it, and chances are we can make decisions in the heat of the moment that aligns with that. Does that make sense? So that's where the psychology behind visualization comes in. The clearer we can actually see something, or smell it, or feel it, the better it works for us as a goal to have. Okay, so that is exercise number 1. That's really interesting. So you can play around with this one as much as you want. And if you're in the Unbreakable Mind community, you already have this exercise. But that's a really fun one to kind of figure out, okay, what's my big vision in life? And most people figure out this pretty quickly. And if you figure out this pretty quickly, you have your vision. This is where you want to go. And if you're still blank on this one, is there anyone who's like, nothing comes to me here? And if there's nothing that comes to you here, then see someone who has traits that you want. Maybe there's a person out there who has something that you want. Then you take whatever that person has and you dress your future selves with that, or your epithet with that. And then you collect the things from other people in the world, or other people that you can see, and you make sure you dress your future self with those things. Okay, so that was exercise number 1. That is just a short run through, and you can expand on this when you have time and you want to play around with this. But do keep this thing somewhere safe. I keep it in my the focus plan I just sent you. So I keep a copy of that there so I can update it. It's actually, let's see. I'm going to show you where you'll find it. So at the top, you'll see this, which says purpose / vision for my life. So vision right now is what you're starting to develop. This is your epithet. Here you will write the things you want to become, the things you want to have, and the things you want to have done. So this is what we talked about: be, do, and have. And then you just fill that out. If you have your little ChatGPT story, I would definitely attach it here and make sure that that's included, because this will be the guiding light for you. For some of you, this is really difficult. And that's completely fine. In that case, like I said, you bring in things from other people and make sure you dress your future self with the things that you see in others that you will want to do yourself. All right, okay, cool. Great. Let's head on to the next exercise. I think that's another fun one. Let's see here. Okay, this one is really fun. I really like this one. I learned this one exercise long ago, I think probably 10 years ago, when I was doing a personality, I can't remember what else, was like a personal development thing inside the army, where they would kind of figure out, where to go. So I guess it was a professional development in the army, because you could figure out, okay, where's your next step? What's your next part of your career? And to do that, they ask you a bunch of things on what you like and what you don't like, and you're trying to figure out, what's your, making everything wet here. What's your kind of purpose, or what's your drive? Because in the army, we really do believe that your drive is incredibly important when it comes to long-term satisfaction, and when it comes to long-term productivity, and just making people continue doing what they're doing. So this one is called a life timeline. And basically, you're going to take your entire life, and we're going to score it in a very simple way based on meaningfulness and happiness. And for this exercise to work, we're going to separate the two concepts a little bit. We're going to look at happiness as a short-term gratification, maybe things that make you laugh, make you feel good, makes you just enjoy the moment. And we're going to take that on one side. Here we go. We have our happiness over here, things that makes you happy and excited. Maybe maybe an ice cream. I think this is an ice cream, or a microphone. I don't know. Those are the happiness stuff. Makes you happy, makes you smile. On the other side, and I'm not saying this is a dichotomy, but I'm saying they usually don't hang out together, are the things that are meaningful. So that makes you happy. I'm trying to make someone determined here, but it looks more like he has a disease. The meaningfulness is something that is worth pursuing, not because it gives us joy or pleasure, but because there's something greater to it. So you probably found a few things on your epitaph that you want here, but that is going to take a lot of work and not going to make you happy in the moment. So let's say amazing friendships, for example. Amazing friendships doesn't happen by chance. It doesn't happen by just having fun together. It happens by having tough conversations. It happens about giving someone honest feedback when they're about to screw something up, and they're going to get pissed at you. It's that is, for me at least, amazing friendships. And that's hard work. And that's not going to make me happy in the short term. It's going to give me a little bit of anxiety, a little bit of doubt in front of that conversation. But it is something that's very meaningful, because it will develop that connection to my life vision. It will develop my friendships into amazing friendships. So that's why we got to separate, for this discussion, we got to separate happiness from meaning. Sometimes they coincide and they happen at the same time, but oftentimes they live separately. And you're gonna probably notice that when we're going to this exercise of the timeline. Okay, does this make sense, the differentiation between happiness and meaning? Yeah. You don't have to agree that this is how it is, but you're going to have to agree with this definition for now, so that we can move on with the exercise, because otherwise it's going to be a big mess. Okay, great. Good. So now we're going into the fun stuff. You're going to pick a point in time, a long time ago. Maybe it's, we'll see where we end up, but it's going to be a long time ago. And then we have today. And then you could say over here, maybe your first memory. And this is your timeline. Ooh. Now you're going to go through your timeline, and you're going to add things on here, which are big moments in your life. So maybe here was the, I don't know, first, girlfriend. And then here was college, something like that. And just put out the big pieces of your life. So go ahead and do that. Okay, we're going to spend 2 more minutes on this exercise, and then I'm going to go through the next step. So I'll see you in a few minutes. I'll see you in 2 minutes. Okay, Jakob, how are you doing there?
Yeah, lots of things to be noted down.
Are you finding are you figuring out your timeline?
Yeah, yeah, and I have plenty of things to put there. So,
Nice. Is it as packed as mine, or even more?
no, I would say even more
Yeah.
combination of the personal development, yeah, girlfriends, and work achievements. Yeah,
Yeah.
actually plenty
That's
of
good.
it, and it's like nicely distributed in a time, even though without without doing the task. I was not entirely sure. I thought I have some gaps, but in reality, it's not that bad. So
Yeah, it's cool, right? And I think this exercise has so many good things because one, we realized, oh, I haven't just been sitting around waiting for life to end. I'm actually done a bunch of things, which is always fun to see. But what we're going to do now is we're going to take that, what we talked about before, this we'll do meaning in red, and then we'll do happiness in blue. And we're going to go through our life here now. And then you're going to start drawing. And okay, so now we're looking at meaningful. Okay, army conscript, how meaningful was that? How much did I feel? Yeah, it was a lot. And the first job, how much was that? Okay, same, maybe same. And then sailing, how meaningful was it? Well, not really. And then climbing, I don't know. And then we're just going to go through our entire lives this way. So we're going to do that from a meaning perspective now, and just see how it flows. Make sense?
so to grade the meaning of every significant moment on the pipeline.
Yeah, just follow it roughly like I did now. You're just gonna trace it and say like, oh, that was meaningful. No, this was not really. Here, I felt this was really meaningful to me, and then this was not. Just in rough terms like this. Did you manage to move through it?
Yeah.
Perfect. And then, lo and behold, we're going to do the same thing with happiness now. So these are the things that made us really happy in the moment. While we were doing it, it was just like we're so happy, we're so enjoying it so much. So you could say if you felt a lot of happiness, you can see plus up here, and you felt very little happiness, it will be minus here. So just like we did with the things that are meaningful, we're going to go through our lives and follow this trajectory and see what happens. All right. Did you nail it?
Yeah, done.
So I don't know how it looks for you, but I had a good experience here. I wasn't expecting this, but this was interesting. I know before that my pattern, and I've seen a lot of people also have this pattern of things are meaningful, but they don't bring happiness in the same moments. So in my situation, they usually are on the opposite ends. Like this. So here's the being an army conscript, which is I found it somewhat meaningful, but it was definitely not something that brought me happiness. Let's put it that way. I had my first job, which was a super good job. But the reason why I left it was because it didn't give me any meaning. But I really enjoyed it. The colleagues were still friends and everything. So for me, they were going zigzag like this. But what I wasn't aware of was the end here, which is pretty cool. I didn't realize that, but I'm actually in a place where I do something that's meaningful and that also gives me a lot of joy each day, which is it's pretty cool. I don't, as you can tell before, it's not an experience I've had, so that's very exciting. But my conclusion from looking at this is usually this, that you do something hard or something meaningful, and it's usually hard, which means that it's usually not fun to do. So usually hard and meaningful often go together. They tend to hang out with each other. And hard and laughing usually don't hang out together. So that's why I think a lot of times they see this, there are opposing forces, especially in things like this. When I went sailing in the Bahamas and I went climbing mountains, which looks like it was 8 years of my life, which isn't true. but they weren't meaningful. I knew all the time when I did that this is not something I would want to do sustainable, forever. So those are my little conclusions. How is it on your side?
It's more diverse. So yes, there are the moments which have a high meaningful score, but low happiness score. There are also several where the meaningful score is positive, same as the happiness. Interesting is that the more life experience. The important moments are more where the meaningful and happiness scores are aligned. So the discrepancy I see in the early stage of my life, and in the recent years, there are not so many milestones in general, which I wouldn't have at least a certain positive happiness score, and all of them are
Mm.
meaningful. So basically, I wrote down the things which are deeply written in my memories, which are meaningful for me, which are those which I do support myself when I sometimes may think about not achieving too much. These are exactly the moments which brings the light on the past achievements,
Mm.
which are not going anywhere, and supporting the the underlying passion for doing
Yeah, yeah,
meaningful things in general.
yeah. And I think the cool thing here, which, and I think this is what I've seen. It's very interesting. It's a very fun pattern to look at, and it looks usually something like this. So let's say this is the timeline for a education, a training, whatever it is, right? We have a start point and we have a graduation point, and then we have, rest of life that comes after. So what I've noticed with myself, and I think a lot of other people, is that you start something and it's really difficult and hard. Oh, sorry, that's wrong. It's really difficult and hard. It doesn't really make you don't laugh every day. You're more anxiety. Are you going to make the test? Are you going to qualify? Are you going to do good enough? Are you going to pass? And then you pass. And then you're like, okay, I'm super happy that I passed. I'm super proud. I'm excited. Like, this is incredibly, incredibly exciting. So there's this interesting thing that happens. But at the same time, that if you ask yourself during this training or education, like, is this meaningful? Then usually it is, because otherwise you probably would have changed, right? And then that tends to switch, because now what you're doing is that you're not challenging yourself. You're not pushing yourself forward because you graduated. Now the pressure is off. So now you're happy and relaxed. But oftentimes we're not, in the sense that it's like feels really meaningful. And this is a lot of depression happens here. It's called a finisher. It's called like a finisher trauma or finisher something like that, which means that you do something really hard for a while and then you stop doing it, and then you get into this depression of what the heck happened. So if you allow this to happen long enough, this happiness here will drop, unless the meaningfulness thing starts to go up again and we do something again that's difficult or hard. And that's the entire basis of Unbreakable Mind, to put ourselves in those positions that are challenging, to go after those big goals and make sure that we pursue something that is meaningful, so we start going up. Because as I just said here, if we stay at the meaningfulness too long and the happiness dips, we're in a really shitty position where we're not happy and we don't have anything meaningful to aim for. And that's what we see when people end up in the circle I drew before, where this guy didn't have anywhere to go. They get stuck. They stay the same, and life turns into absolute dog crap. And that is not a good place to be, and it's really hard to get yourself out of that. But the solution is simple. And I would argue that the solution is finding something that is meaningful. That's what we're doing right now, because now you have points in time where you know, like, oh, I felt a lot of meaning here. So this will give you clues on what the heck to put in front of here, so that your meaningful gauge goes up again. Even though your happiness gauge might go down for a while, you now know that once you hit graduation or you finish that hard thing, your happiness and your satisfaction will go up. And I think that is very, I haven't seen this explained this way anywhere else, but I think it's a very interesting way of seeing, the psychology of ourselves without all the fancy words. Because if you can play this game and you can chase big goals that are meaningful, then life in some sense is figured out. And the way we figure out what the heck is meaningful is that if we've been around for a while, the data is already here. The data is in here somewhere. We just have to dig deep, take the pieces, and take those pieces and put them in front of us and see what the heck happens. I'm not saying do the same thing again. I'm saying, okay, what the heck was it with being an army conscript that made me proud and made me feel that it's meaningful? That's exactly what I did. I found something here, and then I put it in here. Oh, you know what? I found the same thing as being an officer. Well, what the heck was it that being an officer made me proud? Well, it was serving. It was the challenges. Okay, what if I start going on deployments and doing that stuff? Not that I really had a choice, but I ended up in that situation. And then suddenly I had that thing happen again. So the clues are in our history a lot of times. And that's what this exercise is about. That's why we take the epitaph and we say, okay, here's where I want to go. And now you can go back to this little guy here, and you can dress him up with all the lessons you've learned. All the things you know about your history now, you just add it onto your epitaph, because that will be our next lesson or next little exercise. Does this make any sense?
Yeah.
So are you ready to go back to our epitaph and maybe expand on that a little bit now that we have looked into our history?
Sure.
I think this is a good one. And then we're going to turn that into our focus plan. So this is how I do my little CSI on my own life. What I just added now is that what I realized is a big part of is teamwork, my life, and developing others and building teams. And I realize now that when I go through my timeline here, when I did this thing, I sucked and I said I would never go back to an army conscript. But then I did my first job, which was really fun, but it wasn't meaningful. So then I looked into my history. I didn't know this at the time, but what I did was I looked in there and said, okay, what is it that I like? I like, working with other people, challenging, stuff like that. Okay, so I applied that to my future, and that made me apply for officer school, right? And then I did a bunch of other things along the way, and then I exited the military, over here. And then what the heck am I going to do? Well, I went back to all these points in life, and I said, okay, well, obviously there's something with teamwork, working with other people, developing others. And that's where this business comes from, where we're talking about Unbreakable Mind over here, where I get to do all of that at the same time. And I did that by also taking a bunch of risk, financial risk, and quitting my job and leaving all the safety and stability, and giving up a lot of the immediate happiness. Like I used to go on a bunch of vacations, really long and really intense vacations, which I haven't given up. Not from a victim standpoint, but from a meaningful standpoint. I know where I'm aiming at. So I can easily make decisions now, because this business, what I'm doing right now, connects with all these things throughout story. And it connects with this deeper epitaph that I have, so that I'm willing to give up the luxuries that I had before and put all the energy into this thing. And that's I believe the power of having a clear vision and a clear goal. And the best data points is usually our history. So that's how all of this connects. Is that useful so far? Great. Have you expanded on your epithet, or would you want some more time there?
Yeah.
Right. Are you? Then now is I would say that's the most exciting part. That this is now okay. Now we have, gone through our history. We looked at all the fun stuff. Now we're gonna make this into something valuable. It's not just gonna stop as ideas and thoughts. We're gonna make sure that this means something to us in our lives. So this is where you're gonna want your focus sheet, or your focus plan rather. So you're going to want to open that up now, and we're going to take the information we have now about our new understanding of ourselves, and we're going to fill that out. So this part here is fairly simple. You now have your epitaph, which is your future self.
Again.
I got to do. Here we go.
Loading. Yep.
So here we want to put in the purpose or the vision of our lives. If we can clearly articulate now the drives and the purpose that we have, such as, and the keys to this is usually what you'll find here in your epitaph. These are your passions and your purpose and the things. You usually find here the things that you want to be or the things that you want to do. The do's are usually your clues, and the be's are usually the actual purpose, what you're here to do. So go into this, start articulating words that make sense to you. Like I showed you before, my focus plan looks like, I don't know, some unknown alien language, but for me it makes a lot of sense. So it's important here that you add the things that make sense to you. And I usually do something like this. I want to become, and then I just list the things. And X, Y, Z. And then it's I want to have X, Y, Z. And I want to do X, Y, Z. And the reason why I put I want to each and every single time is because it's vital that it's the things that we want. Like if we are manipulating this into what someone else wants for us, then this entire hierarchy of values, or this entire value, is going to crash. Because once it gets tough and rough, we will deep inside know that this is not actually something that we want. It was something someone else wants. And then we will most likely just stop and give up. And if you're unsure if this is something you really want, then that's one thing. But if you're sure that this is not what you want, but you're putting it here, then we have a problem. So make sure that you either know that this is what you want, or that at least you think this is what you want, because this is a work in progress. So let's start formulating or writing down the things we just talked about. So I try to make it as simple as this. I don't want to make this overly complicated. It's a lot about just moving through the steps and getting some flow here, because it's easy to overthink and it's easy to get in, overthinking mode and making this complicated. And we don't want to do that. We'd rather want to get something rough in here and then update as we go, then look for the perfect solution. If you, when you were doing this exercise, you found that, oh, there's a bunch of values here, or maybe words that are really meaningful to you, then shove them in here in your values. And it says top 6, but you can add a gazillion of them just for like an index. And then you move your 6 most important to the left here. That's what I usually do. So I just put the ones that are most active to me over here. And then I continue on to the right with all the things that are valuable, but but are less valuable than the top 6. So those are the things we want to do now. There's a bunch of other things we can do here now, but we're not going to do all of this. I'm going to pick you through the most important ones, or go through the most important ones. So once you have this listed out a bit, this is overall stuff. It's very general, it's very fluffy, and it's supposed to be that way. Because on the next level here now, we're going to start making it more tangible, more, okay, what does this actually mean? So if you are ready to move on, we're going to head on to the high level stuff. So as you can see now, these all connect. So you have your vision for life, which connects to your high level goals. And we're talking high level as in 3 mission goals for my life or the next 3 years. And then we go down to quarter. So these should all be connected up and down. If the chain breaks, we need to figure out what happened and then adjust accordingly. But now you want to go to this place here, 3 mission goals for the next 3 years. These 3 needs to connect straight up here. So what I usually do is I see that I have 3 categories already. I have someone who others can rely on when shit hits the fan. And then I'm going to put here something that if I achieve this, it will lead me towards becoming someone others can rely on when shit hits the fan. So if I do the things I put here, if I do that, then I know this will move me towards this. Because this is very fluffy and intangible. So now we're going to make it more tangible. And the key here, I would say, is that you need to look at the fluffy stuff you have up here, and you need to figure out, what does this mean to me in my life? Not the definition of the word, not what other people think, but what does this mean to me? So don't edit these words up here to look in a way that or to write in a way that you don't speak. You want this to be you. So for me now, the task here is to figure out, okay, I want to be someone others can rely on when shit hits the fan. What does that mean to me? And what is one big thing I can do the next 3 years that will get me through there, get me one step closer to that? It might not be the thing, but it might be a step towards it. So now you're starting to see how this fits together. So if I do this, if I build a highly successful business, then I will have financial freedom. And if I have financial freedom, I will be able to support my family and friends in a much better way than I can now. So other people can rely on me from that standpoint when shit hits the fan. You know, that's one aspect of it. You can do this in many different ways. You can say there's a, developing your communications and being a better friend or parent or whatever it is will lead you to someone that other can rely on. It's all up to you. You get to choose this. This is your life, and you need to figure out what this means to you. But the idea here is that if you do this, then you will have taken a big step towards this. Okay? Nice. Okay, now we're going to break it down one step further. And now we're going to look at this here. Okay, so for me to have this thing, what is a big goal I need this year? So you're going to go later on, or whenever you have the time, whatever, you're going to do this. You're going to break that into down here as well. But now I'm just doing one part of it. So, okay, if I want to achieve this thing, what do I need to do this year? Targets. And now you're going to become more and more specific. Okay, now it's getting more and more specific. This is getting exciting, right? At least it should be, because you're starting to feel how this is going to turn into something actionable in a few minutes that you can do today. Okay, double check. If I do this, I launch my offer, that will take a step towards this thing. And if I do this thing, it will take me a step towards this thing. Okay, so far we're good. And you can expand this however much you want, but it's important we have one line to the bottom. And then we're going to go, okay, let's skip this one. Now we have the target for this year. Okay, so if I want to make sure I get this done before the end of the year, what do I need to do in quarter 3 and 4? Because that's what we have to do. So I said I have to launch 3 times. And if I go here, the most important thing I will achieve this year, I'm going to put this launch 1 time. And then we're going to go to Q4. The one thing most important I will achieve, launch 2 times. Does that make sense? So now it looks like this. If I, they're a little bit off here, I see now. But if I do this and this, I launch. Then I've done this one. I've launched my offer at least 3 times, which will move me towards building highly successful business, which is very important to me because it directly relates to being someone other people can rely on when shit hits the fan. And that is something that I have discovered that I want to do through the exercise we just did. Does this track with you guys? How about you, Echo? Are you seeing this pattern going through?
Yeah.
Are you able to find that path for yourself?
Yeah, indeed.
Perfect. So this is what we are doing here now. We're building that path. From the beginning, we didn't have maybe a direction, and now we have a direction. Maybe that direction won't last forever, but at least we have something so we can start the journey. You remember in the beginning, we said it's just important to get going so we can get the lessons and realize, no, I want to go somewhere else, and then we can course correct. But if we're spreading ourselves thin and we're going every direction and everything is equally important, then nothing is important and we're not going anywhere. But this thing here will give us direction. It will give us the ability to say, you know what? The thing that just popped up in my life now, it doesn't align. Oh, is it? It doesn't support me in launching the times that I need to launch. And if it doesn't do that, it doesn't support my top 3 goals for the next 3 years. And if it doesn't do that, then it doesn't support the vision that I have for my life. And then the question is there something wrong with my vision? Or is this an opportunity that I should let go, that I should say no to? And if the purpose and vision is still true, you still agree with that, then the decision has already been made. Now you just have to stick to it. You just have to keep going in that direction. And that is more about discipline than it is about direction. So how are you feeling now, Jakub, about this?
Yeah, more aware of what is important, what is not important. Yeah, finding much clear vision of the short-term goals.
Yeah.
Before.
Did the timeline, did that make sense to you? Did you get some clues from that one?
Some insights, definitely.
Yeah, I think it's a fun one, and it's worth doing, on a regular basis, because you discover something new. Like for me, the new thing was this part of my life. I never realized that they align so well, both happiness and meaning. So that's a good one. Is there any questions you have on how to put this together or keep working on it? All right. That was the big deals that I want to go through. Those are the things that I thought would be really, really fun to play around with a bit. Because now we have this document, we have a rough vision of where we want to go. Now the question is just being aware of what's happening in our lives and keep dressing that little person that we talked about before, that little future self, putting the clothes on it that we wanted to have, whatever our goals might be. And every time we change this vision, we got to make sure that it tracks all the way down to today. So we've got to make sure that that path we're on is going to take us to where we want to go. And if we change where we want to go, everything else needs to change as well. And if that means changing your job, if that means changing your routines, then so may be it. But be super aware of sometimes going in one direction and realizing that my passion and my values want me to go over here. That difference, I think, can lead us to very dark places. It becomes bitterness, and we miss out on a bunch of good things in life. So this is the idea of being aligned with your purpose and your higher goals. So yeah, I think this is a cool one. I like this exercise. It's a fun one. And for you, Jakub, there's more of this inside level 2. There's a more in-depth training on all of this stuff, where you get to go, step by step and take it at your own pace a little bit. Because I know we're rushing through a lot of this.
Sure.
All right. Awesome. Any questions before we check out? No? Awesome. Thank you so much for showing up with me on camera today. Not everybody wants to do that. They like to hide behind their little keyboards. So I really appreciate having a little face to hang out with. Yeah. Thank you so much, guys, and have a great day.
Have a great day as well. See you soon.
See you soon.